reports from leading cycling charity, the Bikeability Trust, which has found that cycle training that meets the national standards for cycle training can dramatically reduce the risk of a cyclist being injured or sadly killed on England's roads. And this Road Safety Week, the charity is calling on the government to ensure that all cycle training funded by the Department for Transport and Active Travel England is delivered to those national standards in order to reduce the number of cycling injuries and fatalities. And here to discuss about this in further detail is the CEO of the Bikeability Trust, Emily Cherry, who is my guest in this part of Daytime. Emily, welcome to Gateway.
Oh, thank you, Aston. Thanks for having us back on. It's an absolute privilege and a pleasure to spend some more time talking to you.
Especially as we're highlighting Road Safety Week as well, Emily, as well. Last time we spoke, obviously, it was Cycle to School Week, but this week it is Road Safety Week, especially for cyclists, and especially that motorists and even cyclists have to be wary on the roads, especially with the reports that you found out as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've done a report which has looked at all of the killed and seriously injured statistics, and they are sad and devastating to think about how many accidents happen on the road. So we looked at those across a 5-year period from 2015 to 2020. And what our report is really showing is that for all the reasons for killed and seriously injured that happens, our training helps riders be much more effective in avoiding all of those hazards. So that's why we're really calling on government here. We know our training prepares you and helps you stay safer on Britain's roads. And that's why we want to make sure all cycle training is delivered to the national standards for cycle training.
And this report shows that there's been a contributory factor, especially within serious collisions over that 5-year period involving a pedal cyclist in that period as well, which has seen, sadly, over 11,000 fatal or serious collisions in that, which is a contributory factor as well because of what's happened on our roads, etc.
It is, and the number one reason, so those 11,000 individuals that you're talking about, is driver or rider has failed to look properly. Now, that's something that we really significantly teach through what we call our 4 core functions or 4 core skills, which are observation, communication, positioning, and priorities. So we really work that through with our riders, so they're always looking ahead, looking behind, knowing and communicating with other road users, because that's the number one thing to avoid hazards, is having that kind of communication, observation, positioning and priorities.
And sadly as well, it's not just actually road vehicles as in like cars and taxis. You've also got to look out for like vans, minibuses as well, large goods, passenger vehicles as well, because they can also have different highway codes as well. But at the same time, they need to also be aware of all cyclists out there, whether that be pedal cyclists, motorcyclists and other aspects out there as well.
They do, and you're absolutely right. And what is also in the report is a reminder that we are all road users, and what's called the hierarchy of road users. So those who have the greatest potential to harm, so those driving the biggest vehicles on the roads, like HGVs, as you mentioned, have the greatest responsibility to protect those at the bottom or the top of the hierarchy, pedestrians and cyclists on the roads. So, but ultimately, what we're really trying to remind everyone is we're all road users, we're all humans, and actually being the most important thing to you to do, no matter what your mode of transport, is to look out and protect each other. So if you're a cyclist, you're looking out for cars and pedestrians. If you're a car driver out on the roads, you're looking out for cyclists, pedestrians and other car road users. But it's that responsibility to look out for each other on the roads that we really want to instill in all road users.
And the other danger for a cyclist as well is obviously there are a couple of things as well. They've failed to judge speed or path as well at the same time, and even sadly enter a road from a pavement there can also be hazards for a cyclist as well.
They certainly can, and one of the top reasons for killed and seriously injured is around junctions. So junctions can be particularly hazardous for cyclists and pedestrians and for car users, and that's why on our training we spend a lot of time with our riders helping them to understand who has priority, road positioning, so that you're very clear and very safe to be seen. So we call it our primary positioning, which is generally in the middle of the lane. That's where you'll be safer to be seen, and we spend lots of time helping children navigate those junctions and how to do a left turn out or a right turn into a junction. So it's just absolutely what we're showing through this report, and what all of our cycle training does is you will be safer on the roads as a cyclist and be able to engage with motorists more safely if you come through one of our training courses. And we're really urging government to make sure that no funding for adult training comes to the Bikeability Trust, but also that there is no other set of cycle trainers out there who can do this work as effectively as our cycle trainers can do. They know how to keep you safe on the road. So if you're not someone who can cycle with confidence, come and book through Bikeability and we will help you be much safer on the roads.
Carelessness is another factor as well. So lack of concentration can also come into play as well. And this is where concentration needs to be vital, especially for cyclists.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And, we take children out from age 9, 10 out onto the roads, and it's a real risk, real roads, helping them to navigate that. Getting children to really concentrate in that moment is something that our instructor trainers are fantastic about. But, if we go back to the top reason again, 11,000 people fail to look. Sometimes that is just about carelessness. It is better to have a quick look behind you more frequently than you would expect to do it, to see what's coming up behind you or what's in front, than to not do it at all. Observation is so important.
And what the Bikeability Trust is actually doing is helping train those that of all ages there, whether that be from children all the way up to people like our age, for instance, there, to actually look, listen, and even take note of what they should be doing on the roads, but not just on the roads, but on pavement as well, because there's pedestrians on pavement that need to look out for as well.
There is, yes, and that's where it comes back to the vulnerability and hierarchy of road users, because as a cyclist, so cycling is not legal. It's illegal to cycle on the pavement, but you do need to be looking out for pedestrians, particularly when they're crossing as well, and give that responsibility. But that's what we teach people. And you're right, we take children and families and adults can come through our cycle trainers. We've got around about 2,500 cycle trainers in every town, village and city across the UK. You can book it with confidence through us because they are registered training providers. They've got an Ofqual regulated qualification in instructed cycle training, and ours is the only group of cycle trainers who everything is based on the government's national standards for cycle training, and that is in law and abidance with the highway code as well.
And especially as well, if it's parents of children as well that like to cycle as well, could the parents actually teach their child on how to ride safely as well?
So that's a really good suggestion, and I can tell you, parents, there's a new thing coming through Bikeability very soon. So any child who comes through Bikeability soon will be able to join our Bikeability Club, but actually your listeners can also sign up to that. As a parent, we will give you there's lots of information on the website and lots of information through Bikeability Club to help you give some basic skills to your child. But we do think it's really critical that when it comes to the on-the-road cycle training, so sort of around age 9, 10, when we come into schools, that it's our cycle trainers that are helping you to give that child that confidence. And actually, we've tested this with parents, and I think it was about 74% of parents said, do you know what, I really want you to teach my child as a professional to be safe, because it helps parents to have the confidence that their children have had the gold standard in cycle training by coming through Bikeability.
So, Emily, how can our listeners find out more about this report and also find out more information about the training that Bikeability are actually going to be doing as well?
So the best place is to either head to our social channels, so Bikeability UK, or to pop onto bikeability.org.uk, and then you'll see all the information about how you can book for your school or for yourself as an individual family. Lots of tips and advice on there, and you'll see the report in our news section. So, great report that really, really underpins the importance of Bikeability cycle training for all ages, so that we can help everyone be much safer on Britain's roads.